Arthur was the kind of kid who could never sit still for more than 5 minutes. His imagination was as big as a hot air balloon, and his sense of humor was even bigger. He was known for his wild adventures, cheeky pranks, and the kind of trouble that could only be described as Arthur style. But today, Arthur wasn't just after any mischief. He was after Mrs. Groundsbottom's famous cookies. The ones that made everyone in town talk about them, the ones that had magically disappeared every time Arthur tried to get his hands on them. Arthur marched up to Mrs. Groundsbottom's bakery, his stomach growling like a grizzly bear in a thunderstorm. "Mrs. Groundsbottom," he cried, bursting through the door, "I've definitely earned your cookies today." Mrs. Groundsbottom, who had seen Arthur's antics enough to fill a book, just raised an eyebrow and asked, "Oh really, have you now?" Arthur puffed out his chest and replied, "Absolutely, I've worked harder than a hamster on a wheel." Mrs. Groundsbottom crossed her arms and responded, "Well, Arthur, I'll tell you what. If you want those cookies, you'll have to prove to me that you can be responsible, kind, respectful, and show some other good qualities that are very important. If you can do that, you'll earn your reward." Arthur grinned, rubbing his hands together like a villain in a cartoon. "Deal. I'm practically the best at all those things already," he said. "Well, we'll see about that," Mrs. Groundsbottom said, handing him a list of tasks. "Here's your first task, Arthur." Arthur's first task was to show responsibility by helping the librarian, Ms. Maple Harriet, organize the library. Easy peasy, right? Wrong! Arthur was ready. He had a plan. Sort books by color. It would be genius or it would be chaos. It was definitely chaos. "Arthur, dear, what exactly are you doing?" Ms. Maple Harriet asked, peering over her glasses as Arthur stacked books in rainbow-colored piles. "I'm organizing, Miss Maple Harriet. You've heard of color-coded, right? This is next level," Arthur responded. Ms. Maple Harriet watched in horror as Arthur's rainbow book towers started to lean precariously like a set of Jenga blocks. "Arthur, I'm not sure that's quite," Ms. Maple Harriet started to say. But then, crash! A stack of books collapsed, and Arthur, who had been standing too close, was buried in a pile of them. He looked like a bookworm, except a very disgruntled one. "I think I might need some help," Arthur muttered, emerging from the book pile. 2 hours later, Arthur had carefully and very slowly managed to sort the books the normal way. By genre. He wiped his brow dramatically. "I'm responsible. At least now I'll be able to read the books I was supposed to put back," he said. Arthur's second task was to show kindness. And who needed kindness more than Mr. Flickering and his dog Buster, who had a special talent for getting stuck in places dogs should never get stuck in? Arthur wasn't even surprised when Mr. Flickering called him. "Arthur, come quick! Buster's in the mailbox again," Mr. Flickering exclaimed. Arthur sighed. "I swear that dog has more imagination than I do. How does he even get in there?" When Arthur arrived, Buster was indeed stuck in the mailbox, his ears sticking out like 2 floppy antennae. Arthur couldn't help but giggle. "Come on, Buster, you've got to stop doing this," Arthur said, trying to pull the dog out by his tail. "How about you try a new hobby, like fetch a ball?" But Buster wasn't listening. He was too busy wagging his tail, as though being stuck in a mailbox was just another Tuesday. After a few awkward minutes, Arthur and Mr. Flickering pulled Buster out. "You've got to be kinder to Buster, Arthur," Mr. Flickering said. "He's a bit of a handful, but he's a good boy." "I'll try, Mr. Flickering. I'm starting to think he might need a special training class." Arthur gave Buster a scratch behind the ears and said in a cheery voice, There, Buster, you're a very special dog." Arthur's third task was to show respect. Arthur had to listen and value someone else's opinion. Easy, right? Wrong again. Arthur was standing in the town square, listening to Old Lady Margaret talk about her latest obsession, eggplants. Arthur, let me tell you something. Eggplants are very important. They have personalities, you know. And if you respect them, they'll respect you right back, Old Lady Margaret explained. Arthur tried his hardest not to laugh. Eggplants have personalities? He asked. Oh, yes, dear, Old Lady Margaret responded, shaking a finger at him. And they're excellent dancers. I've seen them do the moonwalk at midnight, and they never miss a beat. Arthur's eyes widened in disbelief and asked, You've seen eggplants dance? Yes, of course I have. Old Lady Margaret nodded seriously, looking as if she was revealing the most profound truth. And if you're respectful enough, they might even show you their secret moves. Arthur didn't know whether to laugh or run, but he stayed, nodded thoughtfully, and muttered, I'll respect the eggplants. Arthur's fourth task was to demonstrate positive thinking. To do this, he was given a task he didn't expect: to bounce a ball into a basket. Simple, right? Except Arthur had to do it while thinking positive thoughts about himself. Come on, Arthur, you can do this, Arthur cheered and said to himself as he threw the ball toward the basket. It bounced off the rim and landed in the bushes. Okay, I'm really good at this. Just really, really good. Arthur threw the ball again, and it bounced right back at him and hit him in the face. Ow! Positive thinking, Arthur. Positive thinking. You're really great at this, Arthur. Keep going. With a final deep breath and a lot of exaggerated optimism, Arthur bounced the ball one more time. It went straight into the basket. I did it! I knew I could! Arthur exclaimed. See? Positive thinking works, Arthur said, as Arthur high-fived a very confused squirrel. Arthur's fifth and final task was teamwork. He was tasked with making a giant sandwich, but with the help of his friends. Arthur gathered his friends, Caspian, Daphne, and Jasper the rabbit, who was known for his love of carrots. Together they built a sandwich so massive it looked like a building. More lettuce, more tomatoes, Caspian called, as Daphne spread mayo on a slice of bread the size of a picnic blanket. Keep it together, team, Arthur yelled, as Jasper tried to sneak carrots into every layer. With a few giggles, a lot of teamwork, and some questionable sandwich choices. Grapes? Really? They finally built the world's biggest sandwich. It was wobbly, messy, and very hard to eat. But Arthur was proud. We did it! Teamwork for the win! Arthur cheered. Arthur returned to Mrs. Groundsbottom's bakery, exhausted but with a huge grin on his face. I did it! I completed all your tasks, and I even learned some things about myself too, Arthur told Mrs. Groundsbottom. Mrs. Groundsbottom handed him a plate of warm cookies. You sure did, Arthur. You showed responsibility, kindness, respect, positivity, and teamwork. You've definitely earned these cookies. And now you know, doing good isn't just about rewards. It's about how you feel and how you help others, Mrs. Groundsbottom expressed and explained. Arthur took a bite of the cookie. These are the best cookies and the best lessons I've ever had, Arthur said. Thank you, Mrs. Groundsbottom. And with that, Arthur realized that sometimes the sweetest rewards come when you least expect them, especially when you're helping others and learning along the way.